Alright. Hello everyone and welcome back to the next recording session for 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim. Sarat here, and joining me is Layla M.
The hamsters, man. The hamsters.
StarPrincessHLC.
Fun fact! Red pandas do not have toe beans.
Huh. And JK Lantern.
They just have big, fluffy wah paws.
Yep.
Fair enough.
This may have been a conversation this morning.
Yes.
Now, it sounds better than the conversation I was having with myself in my shower over the past few days. Anyway. So, I know we didn't do this whole bit last week because I didn't have time to really think about the game before that recording session, but this time some pieces were clicking together and I've got some more theories coming out. First of all, I've already told you three about this one, but I might as well actually get it out there on the record for all the people at home. About Sentinel 18 specifically, and how the pills are kind of leading me to estimate where Sentinel 18 might be. So, we've seen a handful of characters being medicated with some form of special pill. We've had it once where they've even given it what looked like some type of a chemical formula. Or that could have just been a product name, but it kind of looked like a chemical formula. We've seen Sekigahara, Jiro Izumi, well, Kurabe, but Izumi before the pills. Ryoko Shinonome and Tamao Kurabe have all four of them been medicated. With the exception of Tamao, they were all in the disastrous battle of 2064. As confirmed by Tetsuya, not too long before the fight of 2064, all the Sentinels were brand new. They didn't have them in the fight previous to that, he says. So that means every Sentinel should be present. We shouldn't have any gaps like we do in current state. During the fight, we actually had call-outs for numbers 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 19. Ryoko and Jiro specifically talk from Sentinels 14 and 13. We know A is in 15. No other names are mentioned. While the three of them on the rooftop are commanding it, Chihiro asked number 17 to assist number 14 at one point. And when they begin the evac, numbers 12 and 19 are called out as successfully force transmitting. Number 16 is one that begins to transmit, but we don't know anything else. Number 18 is not mentioned, but the last 2 points, that kind of points toward number 18 is on the field somewhere, just not specifically called out. So given all that, it's conjecture at this point, yes, because I have nothing, but so far the pills seem to be directly linked to pilots who were in Sentinels during that fight. That seems where the pills are all coming from. Or, well, what they're all being assigned to. And given that Tamao is taking those pills, that would seem to indicate to me that she was in that fight somewhere. So far, Tamao is the only pilot we've seen so far that's not actually linked to any one specific Sentinel. Likewise, Sentinel 18 has so far just gone unmentioned by anybody, so it's a reasonable assumption that she's the pilot for Sentinel 18. So, last bit of conjecture here. Tamao was piloting number 18 during that Doom battle of 2064. Somehow managed to survive, but the Sentinel was damaged beyond repair, and Tamao never found compatibility with another Sentinel. That's my current theory about Sentinel 18, and to a lesser extent, Tamao. Now for one this is a hell of a stretch. I will admit that. But it is a feeling I get, and if you'll pardon me the stretch here, right now, what have I kind of determined about this? Okay, let's talk about the sectors for a second, and we note that all the sectors seem to be running concurrently. I am convinced that these sectors are all living their lives at the same time as each other, and each sector covers a different era. So if you move from Sector 1 to Sector 2, or Sector 2 to 4, or 4 to 3, or 3 to 5, or whatever, it feels kind of like time travel because you jumped 40, 80, 120, 160 years. We have heard that the sectors do something considered a loop. Don't have a lot of information on this, but it was specifically called out that Chihiro wanted to stop the looping at one point in time. My guess is that a loop is when the sector hits the end of whatever it's considering a cycle. It just kind of resets and goes back to year one of whatever era it's covering. That's my guess. Don't know much about that yet. So, let's see if I can tie this into anything else here. I would look at Chihiro for this next bit, but there's too much Chihiro going on. There's literally too much Chihiro to actually form to actually extrapolate any useful data.
We need more Chihiro, damn it!
Dalmatians be damned.
Yes. However, for this subject, Juro Izumi has a much smaller window I can actually study. We know Juro Izumi actually reaches adulthood at some point. We see it when in the scenes where he shoots a handful of people, or when he helps Chihiro bomb the factory. He becomes an adult. But there's a small problem here. Juro Izumi, we see Juro Izumi specifically go brain dead in one scene and become Juro Kurabe. Now, I could say, well, he just changed back into Juro Izumi and life went on. No, because at the end of the game, during this big, massive fight that we're all gearing up for, he's still Juro Kurabe. So he changed into Kurabe and stayed there for the rest of the timeline. But we still have an adult Juro Izumi.
Something had to have happened to de-age him.
Or there's another possibility here. They're not the same person. We've got multiple Chihiros walking around. We have two separate and distinct Juro Izumis working, in different sectors at different times.
But wasn't he known as Juro Izumi when he met Megumi?
Yep, that's Juro Izumi number 1, as far as I'm going to as far as we know,
Wait.
is the one that met Megami, went brain dead, and turned into Kurabe and stayed Kurabe the rest of the game.
I forgot clones exist.
Yes. We have confirmation that clones exist. So we've also got Jiro Izumi, who reached adulthood at some point in time and went on to shoot people and bomb factories. So we know there were multiple characters walking around at any given time. Also, on a side note, and I think I can even pull this up fairly easily. Let's see. You notice how we've had multiple iterations of a lot of different people here.
Yeah.
You notice how it's not listing like every character in these yet, if it ever will. It's only mentioning like Jiro Kurabe because it's a dream he had, but the characters in the dream are not mentioned. So something tells me we don't know their full identity yet. So, and again, we do know cloning exists. We had the scene where young Chihiro said that she's a younger clone of Chihiro Morimura. This is a thing that happened. Now, we've also got a group of people that the game is listing as 2188 that seem to also be separate versions of the people we've seen so far. Like, for example, the version of Kaitaro we've seen in the future talking to Natsuno and talking to Yuki, he doesn't have that massive scar on his forehead. Leads me to believe that that is not the same Kaitaro that we see piloting Sentinels and being, you know, getting all gung-ho to fight for Japan in 1944 and getting transferred to 1985, etc. So it leads me to believe that we have a separate set of everybody up in 2188 or 2187 and however many years that. So we have a complete set of these people up there for everyone we've seen. I know we got Yuki, we've had confirmation of Chihiro, Natsuno, Keitaro, Renya.
So these are all clones of everyone that we've been following.
Yeah, I think that we've got this group at the top, and they've got clones that are being sent to the sectors to live, to do whatever they're doing.
So is there a chance that, like... So, is it still a simulation? Or
Yes.
are they all just...
Yes.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why I think that. You remember the scene where Ninji and Tomi were in the train wreck?
Mm-hmm.
Okay? We fast forward a little bit in that scene, and suddenly you see Ninji there, naked and in a blue window. Much like when he's piloting his Sentinel.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like he just kind of responds like, "What the hell happened? I was dead. And then a mysterious voice starts yelling at him, "Do you have the key? I need the key from you." And he's like, "What the hell? What the hell?
God, is that you?
Do you know where Tomi is?" And they just argue, you know, they just kind of speak past each other for a while.
Mm-hmm.
What that tells me is that, again, I hate to go back to the Matrix, but I can go back to Danganronpa too!
Yo!
Now that we've seen the ending to that, you know how everybody was in a pod?
Mm-hmm.
And experiencing Jabberwock Island via simulation?
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure that all these clones are doing the same thing. They're in a pod, and when Ninji's avatar that he was piloting died, it snapped him awake in that pod, and then whoever yelled at him, and I'm pretty sure to me, that when I listen to it again, I'm still pretty sure that was Okino that was yelling at him. But I can't confirm that yet. But I'm pretty sure Okino just went, yeah, okay, you didn't get it for me, let me send your consciousness back. And he went back to the train platform. So I think we've got the people at the top, and then all their clones exist in pods, much like they did at the end of Danganronpa 2, or we have in the Matrix. What's going on with the what's going on with the originals? Don't know. Something weird's going on with them. They're dealing with some type of... They're dealing with something really, really bad's happening, but what? Not enough information for that yet. So yeah, there we go. That's with everything I've gotten. That's kind of where I am.
Man, did you pull a muscle during that?
Several.
Okay. I'm glad you got that joke.
I mean, it was plenty of stretching beforehand, but still.
Well, let's see how any of this plays out. Oh, there was one thing you mentioned last night. I'm not sure if you mentioned it here.
I'm trying to think what I mentioned last night.
It involved a specific character.
Kyuta?
Oh yeah! I went back and watched footage after I noticed something. Very specifically, I watched the, well, first I watched the scene where Kyuta is playing video games over at Shu's apartment. Shu never talks to Kyuta, even though Kyuta's right freaking there. Shu just kind of talks over him to talk to Jiro. And it didn't matter what Kyuta said, Shu never reacted to it. And I went, that's weird. Then I went back to the scene where they were cleaning up the science equipment. Kyuta kind of standing off in a corner with Chihiro, Renya. Well, Renya's not there the entire time, but he is there for a little bit. And Jiro. Kyuta sits there and pops off about Renya being a stuck-up prick. Then he gripes about how boring working, doing classwork on Saturday is. And nobody says anything, but Chihiro does kind of snap back at Jiro when he says something.
What did she say specifically?
She said that it was kind of important that they do it. That type of thing.
Okay.
It was kind of important, but she only talked to Jiro.
Yeah. And I double-checked the second episode, and there's the part where Jiro accidentally activates his Sentinel, and Kyuta's like, I'm gonna need you to forget this. And Keitaro does not react to Kyuta at all.
Yeah,
he walks right past him.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like Kyuta It's like Kyuta is completely invisible to everyone else. He doesn't exist.
He says one thing that might be to Kyuta. It could also be to Jiro.
Yeah.
And so either. Here's what I'm thinking. Either Kyuta's an AI or something, and only Jiro can see him. Or Kyuta is Sentinel 18, and Juro is just seeing him because of, like, subconscious war flashbacks that he doesn't remember.
It would be more likely to be the first because of the videotapes. All those videotapes that Kyuta keeps giving him, he's basically seems to be reliving those movies. Because you remember that one scene with the Iori out in the hallway? Where it's like, no! That movie you told me about really freaking happened! I was there for it! And Juro's just talking about the movies he's been borrowing from Kyuta.
I'm so glad I haven't been taking a drink at any point during the hamster session.
Why?
Because at several points the drink might have been going out of my nose.
Now look. If you're going to laugh at me, at least let me hear it. If you're going to be laughing at the things I have to say, I think I deserve to at least know when you're laughing at me.
Won't that put you more on edge?
Maybe, but still.
Let's see how some of this plays out, why not?
Well, first, fighting.